Hey everybody. Well, I have another patient. It seems that our garage door opener decided that it didn't want to open anymore. So if I try to run it, as you can see, the chain doesn't really want to move anymore. So I'm guessing something failed inside. Something sheared, gear sheared, something happened, and we are no longer driving. Given that the tag shows manufacturing date of October of 91, we are looking at a over 30-year-old product. I'm going to say it doesn't owe us anything, and it's probably about time to upgrade anyway. So let's get to it. For those of you who are unfamiliar with how a garage door opener works, let me explain real quick. There's three different types, at least as far as I know: chain drive, screw drive, and belt drive. So what we have here is a chain drive. So there's a motor module that rotates a sprocket, which has a chain connected to it, which goes along a track. And so as the sprocket rotates, the chain will move in a linear fashion, which will then move this trolley. This trolley runs along this track, and that's what's going to move your garage door up and down. Now, the emergency release is just a lever that connects the trolley and allows it to separate from the part that's actually attached to the chain. That way, if the garage door opener is rendered inoperable, say if it stops working, like in my case, I was able to pull this chain and at least operate the garage door manually. So we can get in the, so we can open the door. All right, so what I've done here is I popped the hood on this. Let's take a look. I'll tell you right now, when I was unscrewing it and saw all this white powder come out, I knew that wasn't a good sign. So looking a little more closely, we've got a control board, we have a motor, you see there's the motor shaft, and a worm gear. That worm gear looks to have eaten itself. That's not supposed to be rounded off like that. So yeah, it looks like the gear drive failed. It must have started to go, and then once it started, it just chain reaction, it got worse and worse. These guys here are the limit switch settings. So what happens is you adjust these to set the maximum amount that the door goes down or the maximum that it goes up. And you can see it does this using a feed off of the motor mechanism to spin this, and it moves this switch mechanism that way or that way, hitting these stops. When it hits these stops, that sets your maximum up and maximum down positioning. Pretty neat, huh? I wonder if there might have been an issue with maintenance on this. I don't know. Based on the age of this, I don't have the manual for it. It came with the house. I don't know if this track and the trolley required any kind of lubrication, but I wonder if this was binding up, which caused excessive load, or it just could be age, wear. So, time to retire this and put up a new one. I picked up a new garage door opener. This is a Chamberlain B4505T. It is a 3/4 horsepower. The old one was a 1/2 horsepower. This one's belt drive. This one also has the door sensors and as well as Wi-Fi. So we can, with an app, be able to tell if the door is open or closed remotely. We could open it remotely. So there's some nice new features. I think it's a nice upgrade from what we had from the 30-year-old Sears Craftsman. So first thing I'm doing is inventorying all the parts, make sure that we've got everything. Don't want to get halfway through a project and realize, there was a bolt I'm supposed to have that wasn't in the box. So looks like everything's here. We're good to go. Let's get started. Start by snapping together the sections of the opener rail. Okay. That rests on there. I've got a box over here to hold that side. I'm going to put the screwdriver in there. The lever here is going to point towards the back of the garage, so basically towards the garage door opener. Make sure that these nylon guides are inside the trolley. It's going to go on the end here, slide on, butt up against the screwdriver I put in. Install the rail end bracket. Yes, it's a bit tight, so some force might be required. Next, secure the bracket to the opener motor unit using the 2 screws. Mine came with them already installed, so I needed to remove them first. Do not use a power driver for this according to the instructions. You don't want to over torque it and strip everything out. This is the cover protection bolt. Basically, it stops the door from moving too far back and crashing into the opener. Don't over tighten it, you don't want to distort the rail. We're going to lay this down and we're going to feed some of this through. Now we're going to take the pulley. The pulley is taped because it's pre-greased, or supposed to be pre-greased. And yep, there's a little glob of grease in there. So you want to make sure that that grease is in there. If it's not, then you have to actually add some. So this is going to go in to the opening here. And then we're going to put the bolt through. Actually, do this here. Kind of a glob in the middle. I'm just pushing the grease to the side because when I go to put that bolt through, it's going to push that glob out, and I don't want that to happen. So we'll do that, and that way I can get fix the belt there. I'll drop this through. And then we're going to put the lock washer and nut on. And then we'll just tighten this down until that split washer compresses. Again, check to make sure that pulley spins freely, which it does. The instructions say to bend this tab up until vertical. I found a screwdriver followed by a plier works. Well, I didn't have a plier handy, but this wrench did the job. When you see a warning like this that says, "Warning, reduce the risk of serious injury or death," read it. Next, feed the belt through the rail and connect the end to the trolley. Unroll the rest of the belt and loop it around the sprocket of the motor unit. Next, unscrew the tensioning rod from the spring assembly. Connect the belt to the tensioning rod with the master link, which is comprised of 3 parts. Connect that up, make sure that teeth are on the opposite side of the flat, so that way this can go into the trolley. This goes onto here, and then this lines up, and then we need to push it on. Snap it into place until it's fully connected. When sliding the tensioning rod onto the trolley, ensure slack is out of the belt. You may need to shift the belt by 1 or more teeth on the motor unit sprocket. Okay. Screw the tensioning spring assembly onto the tensioning rod unit until it's finger tight against the trolley bracket. Then, using a flathead screwdriver and wrench, tighten the nut until the spring releases to apply the correct tension to the belt. I found that getting the screwdriver placed properly was easier said than done based on how I had interpreted the instructions. It took me a few tries. Make a note in the comments if you find an easier way of doing this. The last assembly step in the opener is the sprocket cover. Note that this has some grease in it as well. Install the cover with 3 screws. Again, do not over tighten them as you do not want to strip out the threads on the motor unit. I've propped the door so that the top of it has reached its highest point of travel. And you can see here we've got about 5 inches between the door and the ceiling. The instructions say not to install the bracket onto sheetrock. So I'm going to install a board and screw it into the studs. The previous installer didn't follow those instructions. You can see the dent in the sheetrock. Let's start by marking the locations of the studs and the bracket center line. I'm going to use these lag screws and washers I recovered from a set of attic stairs I replaced. Drill holes to fit the screws. Next, drill holes to fit the bracket screws. To ensure the bracket holes are precisely aligned, mark the locations with a pencil and drill the first hole. As a safety measure to prevent the bit from wandering, use a Phillips screwdriver or an awl to dimple the wood to help locate the drill bit. The instructions call for a 3/16 drill bit. Once lined up into position, I mark the locations for the pilot holes on the wall by giving the lag screws a tap with a hammer. Drill the pilot holes and install the lag screws. Once the board is secured, drill the 3/16 pilot holes into the wall to accept the bracket lag screws, then secure the bracket to the wall. Lift the end of the opener rail into position. Keep the motor unit on cardboard to prevent scratching it. Install the clevis pin and secure it with the locking ring, which goes on just like putting a key onto a keychain. Lift the motor unit onto a ladder. You can set the height by using a 2x4 between the rail and the door. I happen to have a box that fit just right, so I use that instead. Measure the distance between the ceiling mounted brackets and the bolt holes on the motor unit. Then transfer that measurement to the vertical brackets and cut them to length. Secure the motor unit to the ceiling using the brackets, bolts, and nuts. I'm going to reuse the 2-conductor wire that's already there from the old controller. No sense running new wire if this wire is perfectly fine. The only thing I'm going to do is just clean up the copper a little bit of sandpaper, just to make sure. It's been out in the garage, you get humidity and stuff, so just to make sure we got good fresh copper making contact with the screws. So we have our new controller. We are labeled red, white. Number 2, these screws tighten clockwise. You want to wrap the wire around them in the same direction. So make sure you got the insulation not trapped underneath. And just snug that down. I'm going to actually tuck that down away. I think I can. So this one actually tucks in here, so I have to partially install the screw. Install the lower screw, leaving it out a bit to fit the controller. You're going to put the head of the screw through the large opening here, and then you're going to push it down. That'll lock it into place. Slide the controller onto the screw, and then install the top screw to secure it. All set. So it's time to install the optical safety sensors. So what this is 2 devices. One is a light emitter, typically like a light emitting diode inside. The other is a light sensor. And what happens is they shine across the bottom of the door, usually connected to the rails. And what that will do is produce a beam of light that, if it is unbroken, meaning that there is no obstacle in the way, the garage door opener will know that it's safe to operate. If that beam gets broken while the door is lowering, it will stop and reverse because it thinks it will detect that somebody or something has crossed the path of the door, and it won't lower it and possibly cause a crush injury. So let's get these installed. Using a piece of wood as a guide, snap the mounting brackets onto the door rails. I found the brackets took a bit of persuasion to fully seat it. Be careful not to bend the bracket and ensure it clears the door wheels. There's a warning not to let sunlight enter the detector as the extreme brightness could cause damage. Since the house is oriented such that the setting sun could illuminate the other side of the garage door, I opted to install the detector on this side. Just pop it into place with the screw and secure it with the wing nut. Run the wires along the wall and ceiling and secure with wire staples or other preferred wire management devices. Now that it's secured, we'll pop this down, put in some light bulbs. Now they do have a warning about LED bulbs causing interference, radio interference. Of course, they want you to buy the Chamberlain brand ones. I'll start with these here. These are EcoSmarts. Bought them at the Orange Big Box store. They do say they're FCC Class B compliant, so we'll see if they work all right, and if not, if I see issues with the remote range, then I'll look at getting the other ones, but we'll start with these. Using a small flat screwdriver, connect the stripped ends of the remote wire into the terminal strips. Connect the red to red and white to white. Cut the optical sensor wires to length, leaving some extra as a service loop. Unzip the wires a couple of inches. I found that a knife helps start the unzip for small wires like this. There we go. Okay. Strip the ends per the instructions, about 11 millimeters. Note the wires are white and white with a black stripe. Twist the matching wires together and insert them into the opener's terminal strip. Alright, now we'll attach the emergency disconnect. I want this to be about 6 feet off the floor. I can easily reach this and pull it. That's probably pretty good. Got a quick demo of how that works too. So you pull this down to straight and that disconnects the trolley. Now I can take this and slide it down so we can hook it up to the door. Okay, so now we're going to hook up the door hardware. We're going to use the clevis pins and rings. I'm reusing the old door bracket. They're about the same size. No reason to take all this apart and put the new one on because they're about the same. So, trying to work a little bit more smart rather than hard. Okay, now we have to line up the holes. We want to be kind of as far apart as possible. So it looks like we've got 3 holes that line up. I only need 2 of them anyway. So let's get some bolts. Also notice that there's a curved side and a flat side. Flat side to flat side. Secure the 2 brackets with bolts, nuts, and split washers. Be careful when you're on a ladder, even if it's a short step stool. Okay, we're done. That's on there, that's on there. We are now connected. All right, power's been applied. Okay, there's the emitter, receiver, green LED. That's all step in the way. And there we go. All right, good. All right, so we're going to adjust our up and down limits. I'm going to open the door to engage the trolley. Oh. Who can guess what I forgot to do? Okay, so we're going to press and hold the button. And now we're going to move it up. Let's say that looks pretty good. That. And now we move it down. Looks pretty good. All right, let's check the obstruction sensors. All right, now we'll check the obstacle detection. So we'll put a 2x4. I only have a 2x2, so we'll try it, and it should reverse. All right, what is going on with this thing? Oh, shoot. I missed this. Hold on. Lift the door halfway, returns it balanced. All right, let's check that. I missed that step. All right, let's check the balance. So we'll release it. It's out of the way. Okay, so it says really lift it halfway up, so that's going to be to this point right here. So let's lift it up to there. Alrighty. Door's too heavy. So what that's telling me is I've got another problem. My guess, springs. I'm gonna do a little research. Stand by. Okay, so I did a little research and guess what I found? Average lifespan of garage door springs are about 10,000 cycles. Normal usage a couple times a day, you're looking at, or maybe 3 to 4 times a day, I think it said, you're looking at 12-ish years. I want to say these were replaced probably about 16 to 18 years ago. I think the springs might be getting tired. So I think I'm going to have to replace some springs. So safe to say the garage door opener has been successfully installed. It functions, it's going up and down. The reverse detection is working. The only thing that's marginal is the reverse load. The 2x4, it's not detecting. So what that's telling me is that the springs are not working as well as they should be. So there's more weight and it's not detecting enough of a load to say something's there. So I'm going to conclude this video and we'll pick up with another episode where I'm going to deal with the springs. So thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button so you'll stay up to date with my channel. Hit the notification bell. That way you'll get notifications when I put up a new video. You also help support my channel, which is much appreciated. Thank you so much. And hey, if you liked the video too, hit that like button. Until the next video, see you later.